chapter 16. You can make extraordinary ordinary. What do you consider extraordinary? Is it something like jumping out of an airplane or speaking in front of thousands of people? What extraordinary thing do you think you could never do? Perhaps the two things I've mentioned aren't really on the top of your extraordinary list. Maybe it's the idea of having courage to face that person at work or a bully at your school. What is that thing you think you can't do? What if I told you that you can make extraordinary become just ordinary for you in your everyday? Would you want that kind of courage? And do you believe it's possible? And you know what? Even your tragic circumstances come with an opportunity to experience the extraordinary. I'm suggesting yet another slight change in your thinking to help you as you gain this courageous perspective. And I'll help you see what I am suggesting is possible. When I got my diagnosis from the doctor, I was told that I'd never walk again. Walking not only seemed impossible, I was told it was impossible. I wasn't even able to dress myself yet and could barely even sit up on my own, so for me, standing was definitely something extraordinary for me. When I heard that report that I'd never be able to walk again, something inside me screamed, "No, I simply couldn't accept this." I began to tell everyone that I would walk that aisle on my wedding day. You know what? I even had a nurse approach my mom and say that she felt I wasn't thinking clearly and then suggested that I seek professional help for my mental health. True, my circumstance was very bleak, but I was determined to walk the aisle on my wedding day. I had no idea if I ever could, right? But I was not going to give up hope. But I had to try. I made that choice not to focus on the doctor's report and was determined to create a new reality for myself. And I did it. Can you imagine how incredible it was for me when I stood for the first time? If there was an Instagram story back then, that video would have gone viral. Standing that first time made me think, if I did that, what else can I do? So I set some goals and was determined to do more. Then 1 year after the doctor said that I would never walk again, guess what? Yes, you guessed it. I walked the aisle to meet my groom on our wedding day. When I walked that aisle on my wedding day with my mom and dad on either side of me, standing became so what? You guessed it, ordinary. I've spent far too long letting the fear of my circumstances hold me prisoner. I had to change the way I viewed myself or my circumstance, or I would never be able to move forward. I wonder, are you facing something right now that seems impossible? Maybe you don't feel you're capable of making extraordinary ordinary. I would like to pause here and ask you to reflect again just for a moment on the question I asked back in chapter 6. What's stopping you? If you could do anything, if money was no object and you had no barriers in your way, what would your response be? What is your extraordinary, something that you think that you can't do? I promise you that if you tell yourself you can't, you won't. But if you tell yourself you can, you will make the extraordinary be an everyday, ordinary occurrence. Can we also pause again here? Let's share some journaling moments here together, would you? Would you write down at least one thing that you want to do, but you don't feel you can't? And also, I want you to write it as if you're already doing it. Did you catch that? I want you to write something that you want to do, that you hope to do, but write it as if you're already doing it. My first extraordinary statement is this: my story is inspiring others and empowering them to choose courage. Today's task: begin every day by telling myself that I do have a story to tell. Task number 2: look for opportunities in which I can share with people, even if it's at the mall or a coffee shop. My task number 3: stop telling myself I can't or that I'm not enough. My current extraordinary: I am not afraid of bees. I am not afraid of bees. Actually, deathly afraid. Today's task: I will go outside and sit on my patio at least once this week for 5 minutes and not run inside at the sight of a bee. Okay, my next task is, during the summer, when driving, I will roll down my window at least once, and I will not roll it up when I stop at a red light or a stop sign. Would you be willing to share your extraordinary? Write down at least one thing that you want to do, but you feel you can't. And remember, write it as if you're already doing it. Then write out a few small tasks, as I have, that you could do to accomplish your dream or your extraordinary. You don't have to do everything all in one day. Trust me, I am still working up the courage for my current extraordinary. But remember, all these small things that you list will position you to make one step towards your extraordinary when you're ready. And remember, start small. I also want to share something that I hope will protect your vision to make extraordinary ordinary. And that is this: if any thoughts come either from your own mind or words from others that contradict your task or your extraordinary, I want you to tell yourself it's a lie and repeat your statement often. I literally have to say, I'm not afraid of bees. I'm not afraid of bees when I am. Do this every day or every time you're battling in that area. And one day you will believe it, because we will always believe that thing that we keep repeating ourselves. Remember, if you keep saying I can't, then you most definitely won't. You might be laughing at courageous me with my fear of bees. And while I have completed this chart, I have only just started applying it to help me get over my fear of bees. Why? First of all, because I never even considered that I would ever get rid of my fear of bees. Secondly, I've not had the slightest desire to try because I thought it was impossible. Funny how I refused the doctor's diagnosis when he said I would never be independent or walk again, but I continued to accept my fear of bees. One summer when Vaughn and I were living in Ontario, we went out to get lunch. He went into the store and I stayed in the car. Keep in mind, it's almost a law in our world that we never leave the window down when Vianne is left in the car alone. You see, I can't just run away. Well, the next thing I knew, there was this small yet very ugly yellow thing buzzing towards me. Someone forgot to close his window. I thought I was going to lose my mind. I didn't think twice before I opened the door to the car and climbed out like Spider-Man from our car and latched onto the car beside us. I didn't have enough strength to get very far, but when I was close enough to grab that other vehicle, I hung on for dear life, wondering, when my legs were actually going to give out. My arms were really getting a workout that day. And all I was thinking was like, please let Vaughn come back before the owner of this car does. That would have been ideal, right? However, as a young man approached the car that I was draped over with a puzzled look on his face, I thought, busted. I really didn't know where to begin to explain why I was not only near his car, but draped over it. So in full speed, I said, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm deathly afraid of bees. My husband left his window down in the car, and so now I'm fleeing for my life. As I was explaining to him that I was not trying to vandalize his car, nor was I a crazy stalker lady, Vaughn returned. He helped me get back to safety, but not before having a little chuckle with the gentleman at my expense. You would think I am allergic to bees or maybe even been stung by them, but nope. I'm just terrified of the little critters. The summer of July 2020, I was telling my friend about another time when my fear of bees nearly caused an accident. I was driving. My husband's window was down on the passenger side. When it happened, a bee flew right through his open window. It's funny because we were actually just talking about my book, Contagious Courage. When the bee came in, it flew right under the steering wheel. Did I tell you I was driving, right? I started hyperventilating. I nearly passed out. I couldn't jump out this time. And my Prince Charming said, "Sweetie, you are an overcomer. You have the courage to overcome your fear of bees." Trying my best not to go off the road and trying my best to remain calm, I actually yelled, "This is not the time to tell me to get over my fear of bees." As I related the story to my friend that day, she really challenged me to change my approach to my fear. As I talk to you about your very real situations that are threatening to hold you back, I have now begun to believe that I can, and I am willing to try. Are you with me? Are you willing to try? Well, I'm not completely over my fear of bees, by a long shot, I admit. I have been practicing my assignment and repeating, "I am not afraid of bees. I am not afraid of bees." And it has been helping. Did this work the first 5 times? No. But I am proud to say that I don't run or freak out as quickly when I see them. And you see, this is more than just convincing myself. But with each time I say it, I am making the choice. I am reinforcing what is possible. I am reducing my expectation of a fearful outcome, and I'm believing and hoping for a better response. And yes, I'm even agreeing with the Lord's promise to me that He is with me and He will never leave me. Yes, it is making a difference. And I am confident it will work for you too. Side note, my extraordinary is not your extraordinary. So please don't compare yourself with others. Let me help you put this into perspective by reminding you about what I mentioned before regarding goal setting and not comparing your goals to others. Remember when I said, how silly would it be for me to compare my 11 unassisted steps to your 10,000 steps? I would be defeated before I even begin. But when I share my success of any steps without comparing myself to others, what happens is now my extraordinary has the power to encourage others to try. The only way you and I can truly fight those negative thoughts and experience the extraordinary is by faith. We must believe that God can be trusted. Otherwise, we couldn't be obedient to do as He leads. My time with God is super important to me. It's the only way I'm able to continue to do extraordinary in my everyday. Have you heard this scripture in Joshua 1:9? It tells us to be strong and courageous. Or Psalms 139:14, which says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made and that we are loved. What's more powerful than having the God of the universe tell you that you are loved and wonderfully created? I have grown to trust those words, and it has indeed helped me be strong and courageous. See, if you truly believe what God says about you, you won't be so affected by what others think, nor will you constantly doubt yourself because of all the negative self-talk. Trust me, when you tell you can make extraordinary things become ordinary and everyday, then you are ready to try. So today my challenge is, believe that you can make extraordinary become everyday ordinary.